Yo, every live I get asked the Edgar Berlanga question. It's crazy, man. This guy is gonna be a superstar. If his chin could hold up and he can develop some more skills, this guy's gonna be a superstar. But yeah, would you like to see who would you like to see Edgar Berlanga fight in the future? I think I can't give you a name because I don't think Edgar Berlanga um is at that level just yet. I don't think he's at that level just yet. He had 16 fights, all 16 fights ended in the first round knockouts, and then he has 2 fights that went to the decision. I think those first 16 fights, he didn't get a lot of experience, and he needs more experience. So I would still move him slow for the next 4 or 5 fights. Yes, I know it sounds like a lot, but he's still not ready for like a Canelo or a Caleb Plant or who else? David Morrell. Like all these guys will smoke him at 168. David Benavidez. Like he's not ready for all that kind of smoke. He really isn't. He really. Nah, Michael Blunt. You trying to get fucking my Brooklyn native Edgar Berlanga knocked out? Come on, man. David Morrell will knock him out. He's not ready for that. He's not ready for that. You gotta remember, his first 16 fights ended in the first round knockout. So that means he only had 16 rounds of experience in those 16 fights. That's horrible for a fighter's development. Then he's only had 2 fights where he went to decision, and when one of them he got dropped. He still needs to figure out how to have a little bit better defense, how to place his punches a little bit better. And I feel like sometimes his punch selection sometimes is a bit predictable. Like he'll go 1, 2, 3. He'll throw 3, 4, that hard, power jab. He'll throw 3, 4. And it's like it gets to a certain point where it's like, all right, you caught me with those in the first 2, 3 rounds. All right, but now I'm adjust. And it almost seems like he doesn't know what to do. At least in that fight, his last fight. Didn't know what to do once the guy adjusted to him. And the guy wasn't quitting either. The guy had a swollen eye, man. That jab, that power jab that Edgar Berlanga was hitting him really closed his eye. But it's just like he just kept coming, and it almost looked like Edgar Berlanga didn't have no answers for it. That was a close fight, his last fight. That was his old close fight. Edgar good, but he tripping when he says he can beat Canelo. I think honestly, if you put a lie detector test on Edgar Berlanga, I think that like he will be like, I can't beat, Canelo. I think he knows he can't beat Canelo, but it's good to have Canelo in the mentions with you in the same name bracket, because that way, somebody will ask Canelo about him. Like, look, right now I'm talking about him. I'm talking about Canelo. So obviously, like, Edgar Berlanga and Canelo putting those names together, even though that fight won't happen.
What is going? One of these who going to avoid Benavidez and Morrell Jr.
I mean, I don't know. I just like the thing is, you guys are like putting all this pressure on Berlanga because he has the popularity to fight these guys, and I agree. But he doesn't have the experience or the resume to deserve one of those fights. To be honest, like who has he beat? No disrespect, and I'm not even rushing him. I'm not saying like, oh, he's only fighting bums. I'm saying like you only got 16 first round knockouts, and then you fought 2 fights that went to decision. How about you fight 5, 6, 7, 8 more fighters where they may take you to decision, and even if you get the stoppage, it's like, oh no, but he got the stoppage, but this guy's a legitimate fighter. He's a former world title challenger. He's a former world champion. Work your way up like that. Don't just jump into a David Morrell or David Benavidez or Canelo after you just fought Caceres in your last fight. It's like, yeah, you guys are trying to rush Berlanga just because his name is up there, but not. Y'all gotta watch what y'all seeing in the ring, man. Yeah, and y'all gotta watch how many fights he got, how many rounds has he fought. You know what I'm saying? Who has he fought? And he's coming off he just tore his bicep. Let's let him recover. Let's see how he looks in his next 2, 3, 4, 5 fights, and then we could throw him in with the big dogs. Unless a weak champion comes up, like let's say I can't think of anybody. Like put it like this: let's say Anthony Durrell gets a belt. Canelo somehow vacates because he can't make all his mandatories, and Anthony Durrell becomes a champion, and you want to throw Edgar Berlanga in the ring with him, I'm okay with that. But you don't throw Edgar Berlanga in the ring with a Canelo. Like, he's not ready for all those guys, or David Benavidez or David Morrell. He's not ready for those guys. Those guys have way more experience. And I know David Morrell only has 5 fights, but the guy has a crazy amateur record, and he comes from the Cuban school of boxing. So I wouldn't rush to put him in there with him. Like, we got to be patient, guys. We got to be patient with these fighters. All right, guys. Anybody want to call in, man? The link to the chat, the link to call me is pinned to the top of the chat. All you got to do is click the link, takes you to a website. You can either use your voice or use your FaceTime. Whichever one you prefer is cool with me, man. Love Berlanga, but he needs time to mature. Let him learn more. Yeah, man. I like Berlanga too, in the sense that he's gotten knockouts. That power is legit, bro. That power is legit. I know people in the Brooklyn area who are familiar with him, who have seen him spar and have seen him hit the bag and all that. And everybody tells me that the power is legit. So through my inside sources, I know he's a power puncher. But I do question his chin. He got dropped in the amateurs. I've seen it with my own eyes. He got dropped against Erickson Lubin, 154-pounder with headgear on and probably 16 to 18-ounce gloves. And then he got dropped in his last fight. I don't know if this guy has a chin to fight a David Morrell or David Benavidez or Canelo. I don't know about his chin, but he's young. Maybe he just got caught, sleeping, and he's learning how to be more focused in the ring. But point is, he's still learning. He still has very few rounds under his belt. He needs a few more fights to be put in these big fights. Sorry. Again, I'm from Brooklyn, so I should be biased towards him. Y'all seen how it was with T.O. T.O.'s from Brooklyn. Now, people will say, oh, you just biased because he's from Brooklyn. Nah, I keep it real. That's why when T.O. lost, I kept it real. I said he lost. I ain't come on here saying, oh, it should have been a draw. Oh, they robbed T.O. Nah. But the same thing with Edgar Berlanga. I want him to win. He's from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn. I want him to win. But he needs to show me that he's up to that level before I put my name behind him and stamp him like, yo, this kid's going to be the next thing. He deserves a Canelo. He deserves a David Benavidez. He can move up to 175 and be better. Before I start talking like that, he needs to start proving some stuff to me in the ring. And again, it's not that he's done everything he's supposed to, put it like that. He hasn't done nothing he's not supposed to. He just needs more experience. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.